Welcome back to Nightcap Chat, the pop culture podcast. We talk all things comics, video games, movies, TVs, and more. In anticipation of the release of Star Wars Episode 9, Rise of the Skywalker, we are doing a Star Wars special episode. We are talking Star Wars. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Lance O'Neill.
Lance, this is the week. This is it. The Skywalker saga is coming to an end. When did we first see Star Wars? I don't even know how old we were, but
gosh.
it was
6.
It was episode 4. It was the first one that we saw. And do you know why we first started watching Star Wars on VHS? Like, do you remember
The reason?
Yes. Do you remember our father's explanation into why he introduced us to Star Wars?
No, I don't remember.
Because
at all.
we kept watching Winnie the Pooh on VHS, the same episodes over and over again. He wanted to hear something different. So we got introduced to the world of Star Wars.
I actually didn't know that. I feel like, I don't know.
That's a revelation.
Yeah, my childhood has now changed. I don't know.
I can't believe you didn't know that.
No.
I have that as one of my episode 4 notes, so I am kind of jumping the gun here. But what we're doing on this episode is we're going to take the time to go through each episode kind of briefly, and then we are going to rank the Star Wars movies in our own humble opinions, and then talk about our hopes and dreams for episode 9. Before we begin, I'd like to thank you all for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and for joining us and making us a part of your weekly routines. So let's start with episode 1.
All right.
Episode 1 was released in 1999.
I remember that quite
And
well.
how exciting there's a new Star Wars movie after only consuming it on VHS and then going through the Star Wars trilogy special edition. We got Star Wars.
For 16 years after not having a Star Wars movie, too.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
So, Lance, the episode 1 is significant for you, isn't it?
I mean, this is significant for a lot of people.
I meant more in the importance. And I think this is something we discussed on previous podcasts, was this is the first time that you cried in a movie.
Oh, yeah. I'm like 99% sure that was definitely
I'm pretty sure you were almost inconsolable.
Oh, yeah.
When Qui-Gon, spoiler alert, got stabbed by Darth Maul.
I don't think you could do spoiler alerts if it's 20 years. I don't think that. Yeah,
no, there will be
that's the line.
There will be no spoilers in this episode.
But yeah, that was heartbreaking. My favorite Jedi,
He's your favorite Jedi?
Yeah, he's in a movie and then he's gone.
He's my favorite Jedi.
Wow,
that's crazy.
It's a moment, huh?
Yeah,
it was. Well, it was great, and I was just in shock. Like, I don't know, because even like you go back to like the other Star Wars movies, like none of the main characters just die right off the bat. Like it was just true. Like,
well, yeah, actually that's not true because Obi-Wan dies in episode 4.
But you know what? He's kind of like still like his ghost comes up every once in a while. But
so I guess I see what you're saying. But actually that's part of the course. Somebody dies right from the get-go. And now look at episode 7, not to get ahead of ourselves. Han dies and there's still a lot of significant deaths in the ones of these trilogies, which is really interesting. I didn't even think about that.
All three of them. Well, we'll get it, but each series is we'll get into it a little bit later. But each series is like the same thing over. It's like history repeating itself.
Yes, yes. But Darth Maul, great character,
awesome
also
character.
Died. Now,
honestly, maybe one of the best. Like, how do I put this? One-shot villains, I guess you can call them.
I would hesitate to call him a one-shot villain. And this is going to be my point to most of the prequel trilogy, is all 3 of the movies, whether you like them or not, are a lot better once you read the comics and watch shows like Clone Wars and Rebels, which really expand characters like Darth Maul. It was like you have a lot of the general audience all surprised when he popped up in Solo. Like, oh, I thought he was dead. This must take place before episode 1. Like, no, he has some amazing story arcs. And like a lot of the characters are developed so much more. I mean, even Qui-Gon, and they talk about more of his relationship with being trained by Dooku. There's so many extra things that make them all the details so much better. Most importantly, in my opinion, which I was really satisfied about in Clone Wars, was the slow manipulation of Palpatine manipulating Anakin. It makes it feel so much more like us. Oh, do it.
I guess my only argument towards that would be is, I mean, I haven't read any of the comics or really even watched much of the shows, but does that mean that they should have done a better job with the first those three movies then, of trying to build some more story and more character, and not, maybe it was a little too rushed? Or
maybe, I think only to an extent, yes. For example, I watched episode 1, 2, and 3 yesterday. My wife, in the middle of the pod race, went like, okay, I'm going to go wrap a couple of presents real quick until the pod race is over. Because the pod race is like half the movie. And
my biggest pet peeve was with that movie is you wasted too much time on that part that was so like insignificant. I don't really understand.
Of course he was going to win.
Thought process behind it. I get wanting to make that pod race, like that one race, like, oh, this is like crazy, and like, oh, he shouldn't have won, but he did anyway. But it was way too much possible storyline that you could have used for literally anything else. So,
and I wanted to get into Jar Jar Binks for a second, but cutting out some of the pod race might have been the way to go. And without jumping too far into episode 2, I mean, episode 2 ends with the Clone Wars starting, and episode 3 is the end of the Clone Wars. After, Clone Wars is something that's first brought up in episode 4. Like, oh, you fought in the Clone Wars? So the Clone Wars has been like this big part of the Star Wars mythology, and if we didn't get the TV show, we never really got the chance to explore it, which kind of sucks. But I still love the prequels, and actually like them more as an adult. And like I said, with having watched the extra things like the Clone Wars, I mean, Lucas did his best. He probably should have brought on some extra writers and stuff to help him with some of it, because I mean, like there's cheesy moments. I mean, a little Anakin is pretty annoying, quite frankly. I mean, it's a shame that he got picked on so much, as an adult, but all the yippee and, and then he commits mass genocide at the end when he blows up one of the Trade Federation ships.
I don't know, without getting too far ahead, he might have been better though than grown up Anakin, but
no, because at least he was just bland,
All right, let's stick with episode 1 before we jump ahead.
So before we get into episode 2, the last thing I want to bring up is Jar Jar. Jar Jar, poor Ahmed Best, who is the actor of Jar Jar, he got picked on a lot, and like he even said like in interviews like he actually contemplated suicide, from all of the and people just needed to like calm down. Like it's not his fault. Just like
no, and I think that's a big part of like issues with like, I don't know, like people who do like acting or anything like that in general. It's not. He might have acted that and you didn't like how it was portrayed, but at the end of the day,
even the character.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, the director is the one that said, yeah, that's what I want. And that's how we're going to do it. He wasn't, it doesn't matter whether he wanted to play the character like that or not. He was told to play a character a certain way. He portrayed it that way. And the director said, that's what I want. Yep. So there has to be blame put to someone else, not the actor. The actor is just doing what he thinks that the director wants him to do. And the director is saying, yes, that's what I want.
Quite frankly, if they ended up doing a Jar Jar Binks movie, and they asked me to play Jar Jar Binks, I would say yes, because I would want to be in a Star Wars movie.
I'd say yes.
Like, I mean, who would not want to be in a Star Wars movie? I mean, look at the cameos all throughout Star Wars, and then shows like the Mandalorian. I mean, we had Brian Posehn in episode 1 of The Mandalorian. Daniel Craig was one of the stormtroopers in Star Wars Episode 7. Like everyone wants just even a little piece of Star Wars,
So speaking of Jar Jar, did you watch the entirety of that Fortnite Star Wars event thing?
I did not.
You did not. Okay. So I don't know if you, did you watch some of it?
I skipped around. I saw people landed on this thing, and then the Millennium Falcon came, and then all of these Star Destroyers came in the sky, and I skipped ahead, and then there was a J.J. Abrams.
It was J.J. Abrams talking. They made him his own character model. It was kind of crazy.
Funny.
But that whole fight scene and everything was crazy. But anyway, at one point, where I'm getting at with the Jar Jar thing, at one point, they say they're going to show a clip, because they showed an exclusive clip, in the video game. You get to watch it on the screen.
Okay.
But they have you vote for the clip that you want to see. Now, everyone saying, well, it was a predetermined clip. They didn't have 4 different clips. It was just one clip, and that's just what they were chosen. But people were supposed to vote for the clip. So you go, there's 4 panels, you stand on a panel. The panel, all the panels say something different. Now, okay, so one of the clips' names, because they all had different names, one of them was Darth Jar Jar.
Okay, yeah, that's not
There's
real.
no, I know there's no way, but it was just like...
That's funny.
It was just one of those things I was like, really? That's what you guys are going to decide to put on there? But okay.
Not to get too sidetracked, but there's a whole conspiracy where Jar Jar was actually a Sith Lord.
Really?
Yeah. Just because of like the way he's all clumsy and stuff. It's like the equivalent of like a dark side drunken fighting style. So like everyone is really thrown off that they think he's a clumsy idiot, but he's really doing all this stuff intentionally and he's always catching you off guard. Another one of the things is when he jumps into the water, how he jumps super high and does all these crazy flips is like, you had to have used the Force to have jumped like that because the physics don't make sense. Anyway, I'm not saying I believe it, but there's a lot of it's a very fun read. It's fun to think about. It's fun to talk about.
It sounds like a what if comic.
Yeah, but obviously I do not buy that for a second. So in 2002, Attack of the Clones was released in theaters.
Yeah.
Definitely not one of my favorites.
No.
I think I was honestly disappointed. Although I'm gonna say right now, like anything negative I say about Star Wars, like I like all the Star Wars. I just want to put that out there right now. Like I like them all to some extent.
Wasn't very memorable. That's for sure.
Yeah, Anakin had a lot of cringy lines. I mean that was kind of distracting. Less Jar Jar, which was good. They learned their lesson. My favorite Sith Lord gets introduced in this movie.
Dooku?
That is Count Dooku, played by the late, great Christopher Lee. Man.
If he wasn't played by... If Christopher Lee didn't play him, do you think he'd still be your favorite?
No.
Okay. just wanted to make sure.
Dooku's... I mean, I might still think Dooku's a cool character, but I mean, for me, it's the perfect storm. It's Christopher Lee, my favorite actor. He's got my favorite lightsaber. It's something different. He's an ex-Jedi who trained Qui-Gon, which just the implications of that alone with how defiant Qui-Gon was to the council is very interesting. And maybe we can delve into that another time. But I mean, like, subsequently Qui-Gon went to train Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan trained Anakin, I mean, these were the rebellious boys, I mean, maybe a little less Obi-Wan, but I mean, we saw even in Clone Wars, which also makes the prequel trilogy interesting. The whole thing on Mandalore, and we see that Obi-Wan is in love with Duchess Satine, and he tells her like, I would have left the Jedi Order for you. So it kind of makes you think, like Obi-Wan probably would have understood Anakin if Anakin came to him with his issues with Padme and her being pregnant. Right?
True. Yeah.
He's like, no, we can't tell Obi-Wan. That was actually one of my notes for episode 3.
Just bad parenting. That's what it comes down to,
Well, I mean, he didn't have a dad, Anakin. Yeah. Well, none of the Jedi actually had parents.
True.
Technically, they're all taken as babies and raised in the temple.
Maybe we should not do that. I don't know, just a thought.
Interesting. I made a note here. This is something I never thought too much about this, but it caught my attention now for 2 reasons. One, because of what is Baby Yoda, and 2, we know from the trailers that Palpatine is back in episode 9, right?
Yes.
Okay. There's a line, I didn't write down the line, but it's when Obi-Wan goes to the diner and meets Dex, his friend, with his falling down pants. And he's like, where's this little dart? Like, oh, that's from Camino. They're cloners or whatever. And like, they're damn good ones too. So these Kaminoans are cloners, but they've obviously been doing it a very long time. And he was talking about like back in the day when he worked on like some spice mines or something. So these Kaminoans have been cloning, like that's something they do, and they've been doing it for a long time. Right. So there's all kinds of different clones going on.
Right.
For sure. It's
100%.
Not just the clone army.
Right.
So, I mean, that's another one I think is like, is Baby Yoda just a clone? Like,
And that time period would be right about when Baby Yoda
yeah,
would have been
absolutely,
created.
because it's 50 years ago. So that, from my understanding, predates episode 1.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So maybe while they were developing this whole scheme, maybe they did consider making a Yoda army before they settled on Jango Fett. Maybe they tried cloning Yoda and they're like, oh man, these things age really slow. This isn't going to work, even if we speed this up.
Yeah, it's possible. Especially, Yoda was 900, right, when he died.
Mm-hmm.
So, spoiler alert, I guess, not really.
Spoiler for Return of the Jedi.
Baby Yoda's 50 years old. So, if you want to convert to human years, be like 5 years old. I don't know. I mean,
now tell me if you realize this in the first episode of The Mandalorian or the second one, the nerdy looking scientist guy who takes the Baby Yoda from the client.
Yeah,
like,
he was like,
I
wasn't trying to. Yeah.
Some sharp-eyed fans noticed that the patch on his shirt is the logo for the Camino cloners.
Really?
Yes, or at least it appears to be, because it was like half blocked. But it really looks like it. So very interesting.
Very interesting. Now the question is, was he trying to clone it again?
Interesting. And why?
I mean, it's Yoda. Why wouldn't you want a million Yodas? Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Do you think Palpatine wants a Yoda body? He's like, if I can't have my body, like, I'll take a Yoda.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you could pick something. If you're going to have the Force anyway, why wouldn't you pick something like huge? Like something that you don't even need the Force to kill somebody, but, might as well.
I mean, I guess you'd have to find like a Force sensitive being too. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know how the cloning works.
This could just be a Force sensitive Yoda species, like it might not be a clone.
Could be.
But I mean, maybe we'll see next week, right? So this episode's coming out Tuesday.
So 2 days from the day it comes out, right?
Well, I think this week's episode actually comes out tomorrow, quote, this Wednesday, depending on how you're looking at it as the release date of Tuesday, or if we're actually recording this the Sunday before. I know I'm getting a little confusing here, but it comes out that Wednesday.
This is an Endgame. We're not doing
Rise of the
time travel.
Skywalker.
This is too much now.
So, another note I have here about episode 2 is, man, the Dooku versus Yoda fight was
pretty
awesome. And I remember the people in the theater like freaking out over it. It's the first time
laughing.
we saw,
because some of it is hilarious. It is hilarious. Like the first time you see him like hopping around like 30 feet in the air, it's hilarious.
I guess, but it's awesome.
It was a great scene.
And it's almost foreshadowed, because in the beginning, they're doing the chase and they're chasing down the bounty hunter. Obi-Wan makes a comment like, if you spent as much time worrying about whatever it was, he said, you would even perhaps rival Master Yoda as a swordsman. Like, and up until the end of episode 2, like, we had no idea that Yoda had those moves,
Yeah.
But man, we got a Yoda Dooku fight, and it was awesome. Something I am kind of noticing too is, Obi-Wan. So like, Anakin, I need you. I can't take Dooku alone, because Padme falls off the ship and he's like, turn around for her. And he's all whiny. But Anakin, like an idiot, rushes in like, no, I'm taking him right now. And he's like, no, wait. And he gets kind of tossed aside real quick by Dooku. So Obi-Wan has to fight Dooku a little bit by himself. And Dooku injures Obi-Wan. He hits him in the arm and leg and he falls down. And just as Dooku goes to kill Obi-Wan, Anakin jumps in and he fights him by himself. And then Obi-Wan throws him a lightsaber and Anakin fights him with 2 lightsabers. And one of the lightsabers breaks and he's by himself. And then, of course, Anakin gets his arm cut off. And then Yoda comes in. Now, in your opinion, and we can only speculate about this, if Anakin wasn't an idiot and rushed in, if they took their time to actually try hard and fight Dooku and were able to hold their own until Yoda got there, would they have won? And would that have been it? Because we saw at the end of the Yoda fight, how did Dooku get out of it? He knocked something down and Yoda had to stop fighting Dooku in order to save Anakin and Obi-Wan. So like, Dooku barely escaped Yoda. So if they had all 3 of them, that could have been it right there. So really, Anakin blew it big time.
I mean, Anakin blew a lot of things, and so did Obi-Wan. But I would say they would have won. I mean, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that there was any. You could be good at something, but it comes to a point where I don't think that would have mattered. He would have lost.
I mean, even if eventually Dooku would have beat Anakin and Obi-Wan, I mean, that might be hard to say at that point in their lives. But I think once Yoda showed up and it was all three of them and they were focused, I think that it all could have ended, right there.
But then, I mean, there always has to be a balance. So you don't know if that would have been a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because whenever there's some type of tilt, something else has to happen. It's just always how it works.
Yeah.
So it could have just been the same exact thing. I mean, who knows?
You're right. It probably wouldn't have stopped the Clone Wars because Palpatine is still alive. So, I mean, at that point, was it Palpatine or Dooku that went to go find Asajj?
I mean, I think you look at
Maul's brother,
like episode 3, not to get ahead of ourselves, but when Anakin kills Mace Windu, that whole scene, that's a turning point in the Force of one side or the other. You look at that, and that's Anakin basically choosing one side or the other.
Yep.
And Mace is about to deliver the final blow, and that would have put things completely one-sided, And then next thing you know,
Dooku's dead too at this point.
Right. So then there would have been nothing. So what happens? Anakin goes bad and kills Mace Windu, and it keeps the balance.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. That is very interesting. And with that lead-in right there, Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith was released in 2005.
Wow, 2005.
2005.
That doesn't even sound right. I feel like it's older than that, but okay.
No, it is right. If you
it is
think
right.
about it,
yeah, I know.
We lived out here. We went to Sonic afterward. And I remember just staring out.
Did we?
Yep. Because I remember staring out the window, and Episode 3 is so dark. And the first time really I saw it, I had such mixed feelings. And it's not that I was even surprised that, Anakin got chopped up and got set on fire and all the Jedi died. Just seeing it all happen, and then having Padme die in childbirth, it's just heavy.
It is dark. It's heavy. It's dark. I think that's honestly all I have to say about it. But I guess let's delve more into the storyline than anything else.
So one note I had, which once again, this is something I've of course noticed before, but I'm noticing it differently because of the circumstances we are in. Yoda and Mace Windu are talking. They sent Anakin to spy on the Chancellor. They had Obi-Wan give him that mission, and he didn't feel good about it. And then, Mace says, it's dangerous putting them together. I don't trust him. And then Obi-Wan says, isn't he supposed to bring balance to the Force? Isn't he the chosen one?
Which he is, and he does.
And then Mace Windu says, so the prophecy says. And then Yoda says, a prophecy that misread could have been. And then Mace Windu shook his head. So now that right there leaves this prophecy thing of bringing balance to the Force to be anything, whether it was him or his offspring, but just his whole lineage will bring balance to the Force in different ways. Because, in a way, Darth Vader did bring balance to the Force. Because once he was Darth Vader, there's 2 Jedi left and 2 Sith,
Right. And like I said, the whole scene with him and Mace Windu and Palpatine, that he brought balance at that point.
You're right.
That was the balancing act right there.
Or it was helping keep it in balance because you were destroying the last known Sith. That's a really interesting way of thinking about it. Now, I know it's easy to, point out Lucas's faults, but Lucas, he's a great filmmaker in a lot of aspects, especially with his use of color in filmmaking. Look at the lightsaber contrast, the blue and the red. And then even in some of the opening scenes of movies as far back as A New Hope, you have that contrast of Darth Vader all in black with those stormtroopers and there's so much great color stuff going on throughout all of the movies. But one thing I saw this pointed out somewhere on the internet. I wish I could find it, but it's the scene where Anakin and Obi-Wan pretty much say goodbye before they go off and do a couple of things before they meet again to fight. And what's really interesting, if you pay attention to this scene, Anakin apologizes essentially to Obi-Wan's like, I'm sorry, like, you know, I've been arrogant in this. And then Obi-Wan tells him like, oh, you know, like you're a great Jedi, you're become a better Jedi than I could ever, you know, have hoped, you know, and I'm proud of you. And then it's like, all right, goodbye, master. May the force be with you. Like, and goodbye, old friend. May the force be with you. At that point, Obi-Wan is starting to go down the ramp, and Obi-Wan is standing in the light, and there's a shadow, and Anakin is standing right behind the shadow, and he's not in the light at all. And it's a really interesting filmmaking there with the symbolism of that, because next time they meet, he is turned to the dark side, and that was officially his goodbye to Anakin.
I'm thinking about it like that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It is cool.
So something a little bit of trivia for episode 3. Oh, I didn't write down his name. I blew it. So when Obi-Wan, after he goes onto this mission, he meets this guy with a white face and sharp teeth and the red outfit. And then he's, you know, what brings you here? He's like, unfortunately, the war. So he's going to hunt down Grievous, because they found out Grievous was hiding on this planet. He's like, there's no war here unless you've brought it with you. That actor is the guy who plays the mouth of Sauron in The Return of the King. And he's also the train man in the Matrix movies.
Whose scene got cut short, unfortunately, and should have been in the movie. It was a great scene.
Yes. But that's a little fun fact.
Man, all he has to do is do a Marvel movie, and he might be, you know, and he's got the trifecta.
Yeah, no kidding. Here we go. I noticed there's a scene that I called it the calm before the storm. So if you're watching episode 3, right after Anakin finds out that Palpatine's a Sith Lord, and he goes and he tattles on him to Mace Windu, there's just this scene, and it's just quiet. And it's like, and Anakin's crying, and Padme's at her window looking out, and it's just, they just keep cutting to each other, and they're not saying anything. It's just this long, quiet scene. And it's really the calm before the storm, because after this, what happens? You're under arrest, Chancellor. They fight, you know, like it's just chaos from that point forward. Because then, you know, he kills Mace Windu, Order 66 happens, the final fight happens, when it's a massacre of all these different Jedi. And it makes it worse if you're familiar with them in shows like Clone Wars or any of the novels or books or anything. Like, you know, Ki-Adi-Mundi is killed, Plo Koon, Aayla Secura, and it's so heavy. It's so dark. And this is the first PG-13 Star Wars movie because of that. I remember a little bit of controversy at the time there. The best thing, though, I think, about this whole prequel trilogy is what it did for Palpatine.
Okay.
Because if you just watch 4, 5, and 6, forget everything else you know, what was Palpatine? He's like, I'm evil, ha ha ha. Like, and that was kind of it.
Right.
Kind of lame. But now this, like, there was a whole motivation. He was really manipulative, and he wanted power. And he's so much more than just a, hoo ha ha, like, I'm an evil guy.
Right.
Like, yes, he is evil, but you see, like, why he's evil, and he wanted to take over the world, and there was a little more to it than just, haha, I'm evil and I'm here, you know, which
more
was
politics involved in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's also why I think it's exciting for episode 9, because I mean, Palpatine is the reason for the season. And as the comics revealed, he manipulated the midi-chlorians to put Anakin in Shmi. Palpatine is Skywalker. He started it.
Right. And you know, I know we talked about this in past podcasts, but you know, there's a lot more to, you know, the Hollywood as far as, you know, the bad guys having a little more character development and understanding, you know, where they come from, and that's probably like one of the earlier examples probably of them taking a bad guy, and instead of it just being this guy's evil, we have to stop him because he's just bad.
Mm-hmm.
That they actually gave him a storyline. It's like, well, this is why he's evil because this happened and that happened, and his actual motivation was this and that. So I guess it's gonna be interesting to see what happens, in episode 9. With is there gonna be even more development of his character, or where are they going with that?
Yeah, I don't know. And I deleted Facebook off my phone, and I'm not going back on until after episode 9 because from what I understand, like there's some stuff starting to float around. I don't know what it is.
There's spoilers out already.
Yeah,
I've seen
definitely.
I haven't seen them. I just seen spoiler, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nope. All right. Well,
one thing I noticed at the end of episode 3, it's the first time we see Peter Cushing back in CGI form. And I know when Rogue One came out, everyone's like, oh, wow, they CGI'd Peter Cushing to play Tarkin. Like they did it at the end of episode 3. He was standing there with Palpatine and Vader while they were building the Death Star. Like they did this back in 2005.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Huh.
Oh yeah, he's been dead.
I know, but I guess I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in so long that I guess it just didn't really hit me. Mm-hmm. Especially maybe because they're doing it so well now. I don't know. Because right now,
are you talking about in regards to Rogue One?
Yeah.
Or you didn't realize he was CG?
No. I meant in episode 3.
Gotcha.
I didn't realize,
Yeah.
but they're doing it so well now. I could see people just not realizing it, but that's very interesting that they did it then.
He was a little younger, but I mean, like they already did it. So
And it was a big deal when they did it, when they just did it, and that when it was 15 years later. I mean,
yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, it's no big deal. I thought I had one more note on episode 3, but I'm not seeing it. Oh, here it is. Okay. This is silly. I follow an Instagram page called Hello There Daily.
Yeah.
And I watch it every day. I watch this scene. It goes, hello there.
Yeah,
General Kenobi. And I have now seen it probably, I don't know, maybe like hundreds of times every day. So now whenever this scene comes on, it's like listening to the same thing over and over again. I just laugh. This meme is like, it's not ruined it, but it's just different.
I mean, no,
it's not the same anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same anymore. You sent me the one that they did, that they replaced every time they hit the lightsabers when he's fighting Anakin. Oh, it says hello there. So it's just hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there. That was literally so annoying.
I was laughing so hard because that's why I sent it to you guys. Yes, that was.
I don't think I can watch that scene ever again.
That was so funny. There's last meme thing on episode 3. Somebody redid the final fight scene of Yoda and Palpatine and made it Baby Yoda versus Palpatine, and it's hilarious. I will have to show you after this. If you guys have not seen it, definitely Google it. It is definitely worth watching.
There's actually a funny Fortnite meme going on because, they did the Star Wars thing.
Yeah.
But with episode 3, since you're talking about episode 3, because you can use a lightsaber while you're playing now in Fortnite, it's a legendary weapon you find.
Okay.
There's, always memes that you're fighting like little kids, like 5-year-olds or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Like the
it's
younglings.
just, yeah. So it's just like a meme of, the scene where he puts his lightsaber out and there's little kids just standing there. Like, what's going to happen? And it was just like when you're playing Fortnite and you find the lightsaber and it's just the little kids.
Gotcha,
it was just pretty funny.
That is funny. So Star Wars Episode 4, the one that started it all, 1977. It changed the world.
It did. It changed everything. I mean, how do you not? It's hard to say that it's not, when you talk about the best Star Wars movies, it's hard to say that, hey, if that one wasn't so well, the other ones never would have happened. So,
I mean, gosh, props to just how well it was done, because you look at other movies from just that era. For example, I was watching a really bad Christopher Lee Dracula movie, and I want to say it came out after 1977, and the effects were garbage.
Oh yeah,
absolute
Star Wars
garbage.
Aged very well.
It did. And now that leads me to my first little note here. Now, if you watch them all in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, obviously there's some kind of quality gap. Right. Now, I don't know if anyone has talked about it like this before, but how I kind of really, really make it work within my mind. When you look at the prequel trilogy, this is before the Empire and things were great, right? Like Padme's ship is chrome and shiny and we have battle droids, and episode 4, 5, and 6, like everything is dirty and clunky and not shiny. I think because we also have a little bit of a time jump, I feel like it's also a reflection of like what the Empire did to the galaxy.
Oh yeah.
You know, like things aren't in its shiny heyday.
It was less balanced.
Mm-hmm.
So Empire had way more power.
To me, like that's what really makes it work for this era. And that's like cool things about things like The Mandalorian. You know, it's a little after, I almost said Return of the King, Return of the Jedi. It still has a lot of those practical things and those like dirty, clunky things, you know, like those practical effects is what I'm referring to. And I just think it works for the feeling of the era.
And I think if you look at 7, 8, and 9, well, we haven't seen 9, but 7 and 8, it keeps on with that path with, I mean, you could say 7 and 8, it's even worse. The Empire they have nicer things, and the Resistance or the Rebels or, you know, whomever, it's just worse and worse. It's just progressively has gotten worse for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's different. So, I mean, it's a new era, but like, I think that's one of the best callbacks from 7 and 8 is they went back and implemented a lot of those like puppets and practical effect type things. Like, I mean, that's what makes it feel Star Wars. And a lot of the criticism of the original, I mean, of the prequel trilogy was all the CGI. Yeah. I mean, even all the clones were CG.
It's really bad. Honestly, the CG, the effects in 4, 5, and 6 are better than 1, 2, and 3. Right. It's so noticeable when, like, it almost takes you out of it in 1, 2, 3 when you're watching it now.
Oh, this was the first Star Wars movie that we both saw. I mean, what just hooked you in? Like, what do you think made you a Star Wars fan?
I mean, I don't know. That's hard to say because, like, when I watched it, I was like,
or what are your favorite things 6, that you 7? Got out of it?
I think just lightsabers were cool.
Lightsabers are cool.
Lasers, things in space, like flying around, shooting. I don't know. Just that whole aspect was just really cool. You know, and then the whole Force thing was just a unique, something that's different. That isn't like, oh, I'm a superpower. I don't know.
It's an interesting mythology.
Yeah, because it almost made it seem like, you know, anyone can, you know, it's just random people or just have this ability, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it was just a very unique just idea.
I mean, obviously I liked Darth Vader. One thing that really, I think the first thing that kind of hooks you in the beginning, especially like when you're a kid. And I mean, when we saw it, it was probably the early 90s or something.
Well, it was definitely before 99. So it had to be like 97. I was 5. It'd be 97, 98.
The first scene shows C-3PO and R2-D2 and they're so realistic. You know, you're just like, wow, how did they do that?
Right.
You know, I mean, to a kid, you know,
to a kid, you're like,
we understand.
How are they making robots do that? And it's when you have no idea that.
Yeah. And like, I remember asking my dad and explaining to him, like, you know, C-3PO and they're both people in suits, you know, R2-D2, he's a small guy. And I looking at C-3PO more so fascinated me because Anthony Daniels is so skinny that he really made C-3PO work because you can't imagine somebody fitting inside that thing.
Right.
You know, to contrast that, the latest episode of The Mandalorian has a droid in it. The guy is not as skinny as Anthony Daniels. And to me, it looks more like somebody wearing a costume. And it just made me appreciate Anthony Daniels playing C-3PO more because he is so skinny. Like, you don't believe it's a person almost.
Yeah, and he does a really good job with it, like just how it walks and moves. And
absolutely.
It's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think probably one of the things that got me was, I don't know, I enjoyed Luke so much.
I know you like Luke. Do you feel you like Luke because you kind of looked like him?
I don't think so.
Really? Because you were both blonde.
I was 5. I don't know.
Because sometimes
it's the good guy with the cool lightsaber.
Sure,
I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
Because who else am I going to pick from? Obi-Wan? I can't relate to the old guy that dies. I'm not a Darth. Like, I'm never a bad guy fan, so I never liked. Well, I like Darth Vader now, but I never liked him because he was a bad guy, and that's just how I was when I was a little kid. It was just like, oh, he's bad. Yeah, I don't like him.
Yeah, I liked Anakin.
So I mean, it was kind of like, who am I going to pick? And I wasn't a huge, which is kind of weird though that I'm saying this and I'm thinking about it. I wasn't a huge like Han person when I was a kid. Han. I liked him, but I thought he was kind of like arrogant, like full of himself kind of a thing. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm a huge Iron Man fan and kind of similar. I just like, hot shot kind of guys, but whatever.
I think it's because like he didn't use the Force and he didn't have the lightsabers. So like I think that's what it comes down to. Like he's just a smuggler. He's like, I don't believe that hippy dippy nonsense.
Although the only guy that I did like that was a bad guy was when I was a kid was Boba Fett.
What is it about Boba Fett that people like so much?
I think it's the helmet.
It's gotta be.
I'm not joking. Like it's such a cool. Whoever came up with that was genius. It just looks so cool. The bounty hunters,
by the way, don't get me wrong.
Bounty hunters are awesome. I love the whole everything about it.
Mm-hmm. So I know there's a lot of controversy over the special editions. They were re-released in theaters, and we saw Star Wars special edition in theaters. Regardless of the bad things, I liked that they added Jabba into episode 4.
Yeah, I mean, kind of brings it full circle, no?
I mean, I think it does. I mean, there's one problem, and somebody pointed this out to me, and I completely agree. Was Jabba's this gangster. He's not going to put up with no nonsense. The biggest issue with that scene is when he crosses behind him and he steps on his tail and Jabba just takes it. Jabba would not put up with that. And I do agree with that. Now, that is something if you watch the making of these special editions, they added that in as an afterthought because they realized if Han crosses behind Jabba, the tail's in the way. There's not enough room. So they had him like, well, just have him step on his tail.
To play devil's advocate, or does that say that maybe Han's reputation was a little stronger than people might have assumed, so he didn't want to do something about it?
Nah, I don't buy it.
Okay, so one other thing, because I just watched episode 6.
Okay.
And that's, spoiler alert, Jabba dies. Right? But how he dies, he's some badass, right?
Uh-huh.
How does Leia choke him out with a chain? Are you kidding me? Anyone could have done that. Like if he's so strong, and then how can someone just grab a chain and kill him?
I've got your devil's advocate. Is first of all, Leia's Force sensitive. Second of all, it was dark. Nobody knew what was going on because obviously somebody would have stopped her. But it was
why
dark.
couldn't Jabba?
Because he's too fat. He can't reach. His little arms don't reach. He can't even reach his neck.
All right, so why would he have stopped Han when Han did that? If he can't stop Leia from killing him?
Oh, you're saying in regards to the tail thing?
Yeah.
Because he was surrounded by bounty hunters. I mean, Boba Fett was there. Greedo was not there, but there were a bunch of bounty hunters with him. He brought the crew. That's why it's dumb.
But what are they going to do? Kill him
in the dark
because he did that and not get the bounty?
No, I mean it's
the money. I mean
that's true.
Because then what's worse is he dead?
So like if you step on my tail again, like we're gonna have a problem.
I see that, but
really, I mean, it was just they had to do it because he crossed behind him and the tail was in the way. Like that's
could have just
really
said he
what
stepped
it comes
over
down to.
the tail. You just hopped over it or something. Like he didn't have to step on it.
That tail is big. You have to jump over it.
So just make a loud like jump noise, like, and then just be like he jumped over it.
Anyway, I liked. So you watched episode 4?
No, I watched 6 and 7.
Have you seen the new Han Greedo shoot first? The most controversial scene.
Yeah, they make Han shoot first, is right? Or
so in the special edition, Han shoots first now, but they redid it again for Disney Plus.
Okay, no, I did not see it.
Now they shoot at the same time, and they added right before they shoot, Greedo says "Makulki" for some reason, and then they shoot at the same time, and then Greedo dies. Okay. So once again, the great Han shot first scene has been altered. I'm sorry, Han shot first in the original, Greedo shot first in the special edition. Now they're shooting
So what's the verdict? I don't understand. Or they...
I think they're just trying to like undo it without undoing it.
No one's ever changed like... I mean, not that it's honestly not a big deal. But
people argue that it's a big deal because Han shot first. And like it's
well,
not
so
that
he's a murderer. So that's what people have a problem
I guess, but like he was in a darker place. You know, he has character development after this. Like I don't think it's as big of a deal. Like Greedo was getting ready to kill him.
Yeah, so he shot first. What's the big deal?
It's not. I think that's why people are upset that it got changed.
Well, so here's my thing. If people are upset that he shot first, you don't make them shoot the same time because he still then shot first. Because then he didn't. You're not shooting first. You're not shooting at the same time, knowing the other person's about to shoot. You know what I'm saying?
You're trying to shoot first.
You're just trying to shoot first.
I think that's why they're thinking that it makes it more okay.
I don't know.
You know, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I don't really care.
As I forget who it was said, but they said canon doesn't sweat the details, and I guess we'll just leave it at that.
It'd be cooler if he didn't shoot first, because that'd be some good reflexes.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
1980 saw the release of Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Probably one of the most highly regarded Star Wars films ever. And the iconic line, you know, I am your father.
Yes. And Cloud City, Hoth.
Boba Fett. Introduction of Boba Fett. And my point before about Boba Fett, now that we're jumping into this, is Boba Fett didn't do too much besides he put on a carbonite, he ran away, and then he dies.
He does. It's very unfortunate. And what's weird is how much I liked him for a character that has done absolutely nothing.
The one something he did that was really, really cool in Episode 5 was, you know, after the no disintegration, as you wish, when Vader seeks all the bounty hunters to find the Millennium Falcon, everyone goes and does, all the bounty hunters go and do whatever, but Boba Fett's staying in his ship, and he has his ship off, and he's just floating there, you know, in space, because he knows the Millennium Falcon is there. And the Falcon is hiding, and then they turn it back on and take off. But Boba Fett shows up hiding because he was smart enough to figure it out, and then that's how he's able to trace him. So super smart. Like that was one of the coolest things he did. Another cool thing, and I'm going to say this is a positive thing that the George Lucas changes have done, is they revoiced Boba Fett with oh my goodness, I'm losing his name right now, with the guy who played Jango Fett, Tamara Morrison.
Yes,
and it was great. I mean, that is what he would sound like. He's a clone of Boba Fett, so absolutely
right.
So he sounds like all the clones.
Makes sense.
And Jango Fett, and he did a good job. I mean, like they're little, you know, arguably, you know, borderline throwaway lines. What if he doesn't survive? He's no good to me, dead. You know?
Yeah. The only thing that stinks is like how they like. I mean, I guess some people say he's not dead, right? But how they kind of make you think he just died, like just so lame.
It is like
by accident, like he was accidentally killed.
I was rewatching Return of the Jedi the other day, and I was just looking. I knew I've seen Return of the Jedi literally hundreds of times.
Boba Fett, where?
Whoops! I hit his jetpack. And, wow!
It's just like really this really cool bounty hunter guy. That's how he goes out.
If you look back on it, like a lot of people, I'm going to say we keep getting ahead of ourselves. A lot of people are upset with the way Luke died, but you look back on it, a lot of people had a lot of disappointing deaths, including Boba Fett.
Oh yeah, 100%. But you can say you didn't die.
Yes,
because that's supposed to be a very slow death, right? He even says like you're going to be digested of thousands.
I think Boba Fett's still alive.
I hope so.
And I think he's coming back. I'm calling it now. If you guys are privy to other things going on in other parts of the universe, I think he's coming. So we'll see.
But episode 5 was great. I mean, there was some good stuff in there.
You know what's crazy about episode 5 for you and me in particular?
What's that?
So the first VHS we had was Star Wars Episode 4.
Yep.
We went to Blockbuster to get the next one, and they were out of Empire Strikes Back. So our parents got us Return of the Jedi. All of a sudden, we're watching Return of the Jedi, and I don't understand why they're saying Darth Vader is Luke's father. And our parents explained that to us. So we did not see episode 5 until after episode 6. So the big reveal was not a surprise.
You know,
the first time we
I didn't
saw
know that, to be honest. Like, I didn't.
You didn't realize?
No, I didn't realize. Because I was just younger, right? But it does make sense now that every time I go back and like look at each episode, like 4, 5, and 6, I always have everything confused. Like, I'm like, oh wait, I thought like Hoth was like episode 6, and I was like, wait, no, it's 5.
It's because we saw 4, 6,
it's
and 5.
Literally, that's the reason, and I'm just realizing this right now that my like what happens in each movie is thrown off literally because of that reason.
It's because of Blockbuster. They were out of Empire Strikes Back.
I'm glad you're out of business. I'm just kidding.
We never. That's why we never got the reveal.
Wow. Well,
isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Well, here's something else even crazier.
What?
I don't think we actually ever owned the VHS unaltered.
Oh, seeing the unaltered version?
It might have been on TV, but I mean, I'm not saying we haven't seen it, but most of our experience is the altered.
I mean, even if it was on TV, who knows? I probably wouldn't have known any different because on TV they cut scenes all the time to save time. So,
well, the effects aren't as good with the abominable snowman and or the Wampa. I know it's a Wampa, or no, is it a Wampa? Am I saying the right thing? Whatever, you guys know what I'm talking about. And the CG of them flying in the snow speeders, like there's like little green lines around it or something with the bad green screen. But the walkers are super cool. Probably one of my favorite things in episode 5. Hoth is cool. I mean, who doesn't like a good snow planet? I remember being confused with the Tauntaun. Like, why did they cut open the Tauntaun?
The wontons?
It's warm. The wontons.
I thought they smelled bad.
On
the outside. Did you see the Family Guy part of that?
No, I don't think so.
Because he's like so out of breath.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that whole Star Wars so well, but he cuts them open, and this is almost like exactly how they have Peter do it. He goes, "I thought they smelled bad." On the outside. That's how long they do it.
Is that the Empire Strikes Back special?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They do all 3 of them. They do such a good job.
It's been a long time ago because I think I saw.
But it is funny because he does take a couple seconds, but they just exaggerate it so well.
That's really funny.
It was such a good movie.
I like the Sith probe droids too.
Oh yeah, those were cool.
Yeah. So I think, and Han was good in that movie too, and everything
for a bridge movie, considering it's a trilogy, even though it does become 9 movies, but for a trilogy, for a middle movie, it's probably one of the few like middle movies that are like really, really good. Like when you take,
and I like the favorite,
right? Yeah, you take like Lord of the Rings and the Two Towers. It's just Two Towers is great, but it's definitely not better than 1 or 3. It's not.
Unless the extended version really says it, because the Two Towers had, and this is a topic for another time, the Two Towers had so many faults, like it almost ruined it.
Right. But I mean, it's nothing better than Return of the King, and Fellowship is just so good. And there's plenty of other examples that where like the middle movie was just like, It was just a gap.
Thor, the Dark World.
Right. Or, we'll see, but, and I know we're jumping ahead of ourselves, but 7, there's 8. 8 is kind of like, what really happens?
And 2.
Right. And 2 was kind of just.
2 is the weak one of 1, 2, and 3. And 8, hopefully, is the weak one of 1, 2, and 3. Whether you like it or not, you still don't want 8 to be better than 9. I don't care who you are. You want 9 to be the best. Right. This is the end of everything.
9 needs to be the best out of every Star Wars film, period.
Or at least the 3rd best.
Yeah, 3rd or 4th best, yeah.
And of course, we would be remiss if we didn't bring up Lando, the suavest caped man in the galaxy.
He was cool. I loved him when I was a kid. I was like, this guy's kind of cool. Yeah. There was a little twist, like, this guy's a good guy. Oh, not really, but like, he is, But
he had good. His heart was technically in the right place. He was trying to do what was best for everyone, and in the end, they make up for it. In episode 6, they go to rescue him. I mean, excuse me, Han wasn't without his faults.
I think is that's probably that episode, they probably, out of the original 3, they probably visit the most places, right? Out of all the other ones, because for the most part, they're either in a ship or they're just on one planet, and it's just back and forth. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because we're on Hoth, and then you go to Cloud City.
They're both new for that. Then there's where they have the meeting, which was a giant rebel cruiser, when they're having a meeting. Or wait. Oh, you know where else we visit? What are you thinking? Dagobah?
Oh, right. Yeah. Dagobah.
Visit Dagobah for the first time.
Right.
Also exciting. Iconic. We get introduced to Yoda.
That's huge.
And of course, Luke gets his hand chopped off, which is also crazy. Like, wow, like the main character can be wounded. He's not perfect.
It's just a flesh wound.
Like that's another thing that got taken away from us by watching 6 first, is we knew Luke lost a hand at some point.
Yeah, because all of a sudden he has a robot hand.
Because
in 6 he gets shot in the hand in the beginning of the movie, and you're like, how's there not a hole in his hand? And you realize it's like, why is there all these wires? I don't understand.
So that's what's really sucks about not watching this out of order.
Yeah.
So speaking of 6, Return of the Jedi, episode 6 came out in 1983.
I remember a lot about that. No, I'm just kidding.
2 favorite things in there was Jabba is a guilty pleasure of mine. I really like Jabba, and I love the scene.
Jabba or Leia?
I like Jabba. Jabba's a gangster.
I know.
He's awesome.
I meant that scene.
It's Jabba. It's all Jabba. I really like the scene where they take off Darth Vader's helmet. It was like after all that, like
it's definitely like a big moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially 1, 2, and 3 were nowhere near coming out, so it was just like, who is this guy? What is going on? What does he look like?
He's all messed up.
Yeah.
I remember asking my dad if I could shave my head because I wanted to look like Darth Vader, and he told me no. Because I was such a big Darth Vader fan. I'm glad he didn't.
Yeah, that was a good move.
I love that scene. And it was also cool for me to see like how that helmet worked. Because like in Empire, you do see that the top piece comes off and is separate, but you didn't see like how the face plate, peels off like that from the front. I don't know. There were just so many cool things. I don't want to say effects wise about it, but I mean, it was cool. You finally get to see Darth Vader's face, and he's kind of messed up, and
that's the first time we see Force lightning, or whatever, lack of a better term, I guess.
And that's the first time we see the Emperor. No, it's not, because the Emperor is a hologram in Episode 5. But here's a little fun fact: before they altered the trilogy, to make the Emperor, they used it's half of a woman's face and half of a chimpanzee. That's why his eyes looked weird. Until Ian McDiarmid played him in Return of the Jedi. And how cool is it that he got old enough to just play Palpatine later in the prequel trilogy and got to play the Emperor again? As just cool. Like an old guy, I don't know.
They didn't have to use makeup.
Mm-hmm. It worked out.
Yeah.
A lot of little things like that were fun.
That's kind of cool. I know it's funny because last night I watched 6, then I watched 7.
Okay.
And it was kind of weird because like there's so much of the screen time of the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see Snoke, it's just like, man, you don't really see him die. You just see him fall down a hole and you just assume he's dead. And then you see Snoke and you're just like, that does look like a dude that just fell down a hole.
Interesting.
I don't know. It was just, and I know like that's the kind of like a theory, and then people are like, no, and blah, whatever.
Well,
but
Snoke is huge.
Watching it, it was just like, I don't know. And I know, yeah, Snoke's huge, and it wouldn't really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But just some type of, I don't know, some sort of relation, maybe. I don't know.
What was your favorite part of Episode 6?
That's a tough one. There's a lot of good moments in there.
And another good one is when Luke is hiding in the dark. Sister.
You have a twin sister.
Your feelings have now betrayed her too.
I feel like there's so many good, like the Ewoks are great.
Are you kidding me?
I love the Ewoks.
See, like, yeah, I don't care for the Ewoks. They're fine.
They were good. You'd rather them have been Wookiees?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get that. I think it has to be somewhere in the beginning of the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Like Jabba?
That whole scene's just really good. That Jabba scene is good in itself.
The Jabba stuff's good. I mean, the first time Darth Vader lands is good. And he says, like, the Emperor's coming here. That is correct, Commander. And he's most displeased with your apparent lack of progress. And he says how the Emperor is not as forgiving as he is.
I think if I have to pick one, I might have to go with Darth Vader turning.
Getting his mask taking off and
no,
when he throws the Emperor down the hall.
Yeah, that whole scene of just Luke getting electrocuted and
that's
him
a
crying
great
for
scene
help,
too.
and then I mean so I just watched this on Disney Plus.
Are you talking about what they added?
Did they add
The
him
no?
saying no?
Yes,
because he said it and I was like, that's definitely was never there before.
Yeah, I
they
was
added
just gonna
that.
bring it. Yeah.
Okay, because I was
distracting?
like, I thought my whole childhood was a lie. Like, I was like, I just remember him just picking it up. Like, if he screamed no, wouldn't Palpatine have like stopped and turned and like, what do you mean no? You know what I mean? It seemed wrong.
It is wrong.
They need to take that out.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, it definitely ruins the moment.
I think they were trying to add more emotion behind it, and I think, like you said, less is more, and he didn't need to say anything at that moment.
I mean, he was acting through the helmet, like him just standing there staring like, here I am again at this crossroads. There's a lot of symbolism right here for the moment where he's fighting Mace. He has to make a choice.
The same exact moment, and he made the wrong one.
And he's like, man, here I am again. Like, am I going to let this happen again? He's going to kill my son.
Yeah.
And like, no. This is not happening again, because I messed up last time. You know, he was even ready to overthrow the Emperor. Like, Luke, let's do this. We can destroy the Emperor. It's funny how the Sith, when they're alone, they're always like, let's just overthrow the other one.
I mean, that happened in 7, 8. It happened in 8,
yes, right? Yeah,
and Rey said, no, there just needs to be none of it. It can't have one side or the other. Happens a lot. And I know we're going to get into it once we're done, but history repeats itself through each trilogy.
2015, The Force Awakens. Disney now owns Star Wars. Some people are upset. Personally, I think Star Wars is better than it's ever been. Throwing away the old canon was great, in my opinion. I know that's not popular, but I love the new books. I love the new comics. They add so many different things. It allows me to catch up as a fan. Like, that's why I never got into the novels to begin with, because there were so many. And really, some of them are really out there, especially with like some of the newer force powers they developed. But like, I feel like I can catch up, you know, although I am falling behind. I have more books than I have even read now. Episode 7 was just good.
Yeah, I have to say that after.
Were you with us when we saw episode 7? Yeah. So you went with us to, as soon as we got out of the theater, we went to go see it in 3D.
Was I with you?
It was 2015.
2015. I didn't live here yet, but I feel like I did see it with you. Did I? Was I visiting? Did it come out during Christmas time? Because they always came out, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Because they always come out the same time.
2015. It's 4 years ago.
I felt like we did see it together.
Did you see it twice in one night?
No.
Did you go home? Maybe you went home.
Maybe I didn't see it with you.
Because we went with Joe. Maybe
no, weren't you guys dressed up for
it? We got dressed up for episode 8. I dressed up like Kylo and I took a picture with the Rey.
Wasn't Joe dressed up as a Jedi?
Yes, Joe was dressed up for both of those.
Oh, I guess I didn't see that one with you, but I felt like I did.
Maybe it's because we were playing Battlefront a lot at the time and stuff.
You're right. Now that you say that, I didn't see it with you.
Okay. Episode 7.
Episode 7. Yeah.
Lots of questions. We, of course, introduced Rey.
Some mixed feelings about it. I liked it, but
I don't have any mixed feelings about episode 7. I cried. Well, I knew it was coming, but I cried when they killed Han, and I cried again the second time I saw it that night.
Yeah, I cried when they killed Han. I loved Rey.
I liked Rey more than I thought I was. I think I have every Rey pop.
I think she's probably, if I have to pick a person, she might be the person I'd pick. If you told me to pick a favorite Star Wars character.
Ever?
Yeah.
She's throughout everything. More than Qui-Gon.
That's the thing. You have to wait to see what happens in 9. It will probably determine that.
Interesting.
And the other thing with Qui-Gon is the only thing I'll say is like, I only had half of a movie kind of Qui-Gon, you know what I mean?
Oh so my gosh, all the things they added with Qui-Gon make him so much cooler. He's the one who taught Obi-Wan and Yoda to Force Ghosts. He figured that out first. That was an old Sith technique. And he became so good at it in one of the novels, From a Certain Point of View, was the 40-year anniversary novel for Star Wars A New Hope. It goes through all of A New Hope from the point of view of like B and C characters. There's an Obi-Wan story, and Qui-Gon is so good at Force ghosting, he materializes a body.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Yeah. That's crazy.
He's so powerful. It's so cool. Anyway, you know who I liked? And I didn't think I would even like him, was Poe. I really liked Poe.
He was okay. I kind of liked him. It's kind of cool. I think if I was when I say this, I don't mean to be rude to you, but I feel like if I was a little kid, I would have liked him more just because like he's like such a good fighter pilot. Like he's just a regular dude kind of a thing. He's not this special Jedi, but he just destroys everybody. In
comparison with Han and stuff. Yeah.
He's like Hawkeye. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it's just, I find Oscar Isaac just charming. Like I don't know what it is. And I don't know. Cause I bought even the Black Series Poe Dameron helmet.
He was cool. I mean, I didn't like Finn. I'm not gonna lie.
I want to like Finn. He hasn't done anything that, like, cause I mean, first of all, he's a traitor. He betrayed the First Order. I think there's a huge missed opportunity, and then he's just, it turns out he's a garbage man. I just think they missed an opportunity to make him this character who's struggling with his loyalty. Like, even though he knows he's doing the right thing, he's feel like he's betraying his brothers and sisters in arms, kind of a thing. And just make him more of a, hardened veteran,
more of a soldier than just like a little.
Yeah. Because he's just kind of been, I don't know. Now, clumsy is not the right word, but
useless.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he ran away.
You know what would have been awesome is, here we go, getting ahead of ourselves. Episode 8, if he sacrificed himself to save everybody, and that would have been awesome.
Really hoping.
And then Rose blew it for that, and it's like she took that away from him. And I'm not hating on Rose, just making that clear right now, because once again, whether you like the character or not, any one of us would join Star Wars.
Well, yeah, and at the end of the day, it's a director's decision. It's not the actors or actresses' decision. Mm-hmm. Or I guess you could say actors because it's supposed to be whatever. It's whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't care for. It's just like, oh, he's going to run away. He just wants to get away from this. Okay, I mean, I kind of get that. And then Rey gets taken. Oh, nope, now I have to go do something about this. But then, I don't know. He's just. I mean, the only thing. Okay, I guess to defend him, he did take them to.
To
Star Killer Base and knew how to get in there. So he was of use at that point.
Yeah, I mean, no,
he was kind of the way in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I just preferred Poe more. I mean, Phasma seemed cool, played by Gwendolyn Christie. Like, how awesome is that? She's amazing. She's she's what, like 6'3" or something,
she's a big
6'4" in real life. Plus, you know, you're adding a few inches with her boots and her helmet. Like she's gigantic. It's awesome. Her armor is super cool. Fun fact, one of the novels talking about like her chrome armor and why she has a chrome was so her enemies can watch themselves die as she's killing them. Like, how cool is that?
That's pretty
like,
cool.
are you kidding me?
Except the fact that she didn't do anything.
It's a shame. It's a shame that like they went out of their way to give her a battle with Finn. And once again, she just has a crappy death, you know, just like Boba Fett, you know. It was unfortunate.
Yeah. I just don't know what goes through their mind when they're doing Star Wars. They're killing somebody in Star Wars.
It's a shame because
then you also think of like some of the Jedi, like you think of like Yoda and Luke. I'm not saying they died bad, but they just disappear. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, and I'm gone.
Well, I mean, how about in episode 3, Plo Koon? No, I'm sorry. I always get Plo Koon. Oh my goodness. Can I pronounce anything today? Plo Koon and Kit Fisto. I always get them mixed up, but Kit Fisto goes with Mace to arrest Palpatine. And before he even swings his lightsaber, he just gets stabbed. And like, he's like a main character, like in Clone Wars and stuff. Like he's a member of the Jedi Council, like, and he just done, you know? Yeah. I mean, you can't really be upset, you know, it's just, he gets hit by a lightsaber, you're dead. You know, that's just what happens, you know?
Episode 7 also, you know, I think probably my favorite scene in that movie is when Rey gets captured by Kylo and he's trying to read her mind. And then she out of nowhere just tells him what his fear is. And he just like freaks out.
That you'll never be as good as Darth Vader.
It was such a good, she did that so well. I was like, oh, this chick's awesome. Whole, like, she has power. Like, she just has a gift, I guess you could say, and she has strength. She isn't trained, but just because you're not trained or you do something well doesn't mean you can't be exceptionally good at it or better than someone who does try. And I think like, well, I guess like for me as like someone who's like, I'm an athlete, right? And if you play up against other athletes, I know tons of people who they put more hours than anybody else and they're not very, they have some skill, but they're not very good. And then there's other people who have this crazy ability and skill. They barely practice or they barely put anything into it and they're better than everybody else. And I think that's kind of where to me, that's what kind of the Rey thing is. She has so much gift and so much power that that stuff happens. She doesn't need to be trained on certain things.
Well, first of all, like it's called The Force Awakens. The Force has awoken.
Right.
The Force is awakening, you know? And to your point, it's the same thing with like art. You can learn technique and you can learn this and that, you know, whether it's drawing or music or acting, but like some people without any practice, like they're really good and just have it.
Right.
You know, same.
And they don't know sometimes they don't even know. They're like, oh, I mean, like I know plenty of people who they don't even know like what different like notes are, but they can make a beautiful song, but they have no idea what like an E and F or they have no idea.
I mean, I do not know E or F, but I also cannot make a beautiful song even if you explained it to me.
But I
do not have it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like where she's at, and like so what she wasn't trained, but in the
she wasn't trained by a Jedi, but you don't know what she was doing on Jakku because obviously if she had some kind of powers, like she might have been doing stuff without even realizing it.
Right.
You know?
And then she I just lost my train of thought. She had to have been surviving somehow. She had her little stick of whatever she has running around swinging, hitting people with.
Yeah.
So she does have some type of ability. Plus,
she has survival skills and knows how to fight.
Right. Plus, you also have to understand that like the Force is also something that it has control. It's not necessarily that she's using the Force. The Force could technically, I guess, in a sense, almost use you. You let the Force. You allow the Force to use your body for whatever the case is. Allow the Force
to flow through you.
Right. Just like how Luke shot and blew up the Death Star.
Or he used the remote when he had the thing over his eyes. He allowed the Force to speak to him and told him how to move.
Right. So literally to me, not only does Rey have like her little, she has survivor skills, but I think, you know, everything that she had done, you know, lightsaber fights or whatever, that all is also part of her force, her force power, and just letting the force flow through her.
Mm-hmm. And more to your point, you know, the final fight with Kylo, which by the way, I love Kylo Ren. I think he's a cool character. Like how people are saying, like, how does Rey beat Kylo, who's had all this training in a lightsaber fight? I read this online, and like it makes so much sense, and I 100% agree with this. What happened to Kylo right before he fought Rey?
He got shot by a laser
in the gut.
Yeah.
But right before that, we saw what Chewbacca's blaster was doing to these stormtroopers. Like they went freaking flying after they got shot. Kylo is so powerful. He took that shot to his stomach, and all he did is like he fell to his knee. So really, he's having to like use the force to like pretty much hold in his intestines right now. Like he got really messed up, and you saw him banging on himself, and like blood is still coming out. I mean, like, and he got hit with a laser. Like that should have been cauterized, and he was still bleeding. Like that's how messed up he got from getting shot in the stomach by Chewbacca. He was not at 100% when he was fighting Rey.
Oh yeah,
and that's why she was able to stand so well.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, one side didn't even really win. They ended up just the ground split apart, and then it was over. So I mean, I don't know. I had zero problem with anything with what Rey did or anything like that. I think it was a really good film to start off a new trilogy. Some great questions. You know, who's Rey's parents? Who is Snoke? You know, Carrie's here. And we end with, here's Luke, and he's getting his lightsaber that we never thought we'd see again. That was episode 5. That was definitely a huge mind blown. Like, there he is.
2017, The Last Jedi, and whether you like this film or not, I don't care. It was pretty annoying that after waiting 2 years, Luke just grabs it and tosses it over his shoulder and walks away. You could have had a negative reaction without making it so
silly.
Slapstick.
Yeah.
You know, because you cannot tell me that if you got your hand cut off and somebody brings you back the lightsaber, you're not at least like, whoa, how did you get this? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Or like, whether you want anything to do with it or not, like you could have made similar character choices, just gone about it differently. Handed it back to her. Like, I want nothing to do with this.
So you remember when she touched the lightsaber and she had that whole like trippy thing and she freaked out?
Yeah.
So when I was watching 7, I know we're about to get into 8, but so when I was watching 7, what's that lady's name?
Maz Kanata.
Thank you. She walks away because Finn's like leaving, and she goes to talk to Finn, right? Rey goes to talk to Finn, right?
Yeah.
And she turns to Han when she leaves the table, and she goes, "Who's the girl?" And they never say what Han says to her.
Mm-hmm. I did notice that.
You noticed that, right? And the next time you see her, she's downstairs looking for Rey, and she knows that she touched a lightsaber. Because why?
Well, Han doesn't know who she is.
Does he?
No.
Are you sure?
No. I'm not sure, is what I'm saying.
Does she know?
Does Maz know?
Yes, because she's sensitive to the Force. She says she's not a Jedi, but she is sensitive to the Force.
She didn't say sensitive, but she knows she knows the Force.
Right.
I took that as like she
can feel the Force.
To me, it's like she read the religious texts, but is not.
That's not what I take it as.
Maybe. I mean, if she is, like, that's fine. She said, now it calls to you.
Right. Well, how would she know that if she couldn't sense it? Is my point. She wouldn't know that if she couldn't sense it.
Fair enough. Maybe it was some minor Force sensitiveness.
I mean, she's 1,000 years old. I mean.
Well, so episode 8 revealed that her parents are no one. Allegedly.
I think that's nonsense, but okay.
And Snoke died.
Yep.
In a twist. I was surprised. I thought it was cool. But I know a lot of people don't like Last Jedi, and a lot of people love The Last Jedi. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Me too.
My philosophy is we do not know how bad or good The Last Jedi is without seeing episode 9, because really what happened? The rebels ran away and escaped. But besides that, I mean, just Kylo Ren became supreme leader and Luke sacrificed himself.
And Rey and the biggest thing is Snoke died.
Yeah,
that was
Kylo,
that's significant.
Kylo became supreme leader, So like there's still unanswered questions. I do not buy for 1 second that Rey is nobody, and it literally it should be not the case because this is the Skywalker saga, right?
Right.
The coolest thing
has
was
to be
probably the Praetorian Guard fight. Like that was a cool scene.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was actually super stressful. That whole scene with her and Snoke was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, how powerful Snoke was, but Snoke died.
And that scene was similar to what?
What? I'm trying to think. Are you talking about the Return of the Jedi?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you have her there, and then you have Kylo standing there watching it, and it's Snoke, and he's sitting there. I have to make a decision. It happens a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's okay. And like some people accuse it of like, oh, they're just doing the same thing over and over again. But I think it's something deeper, like within the Force, because like people are upset, like, oh, Starkiller's just the Death Star. Like,
well, I understand to a point where it's always, oh, I need to not fall in my father's footsteps kind of a thing. And then someone ends up turning, and it's kind of like the same thing over and over again. But also, so I guess episode 9, like you said, is going to change how you perceive episode 8. Episode 8 could be really good or it could be really bad depending on how 9 goes, right? Because there's some unanswered questions and you're like, well, did that led up well or that didn't lead up well? But if episode 9 just ends up being the same thing that they did where, okay, well, we need to make stronger Jedi. There has to be a balance. So we're going to train all these Jedi. So you're making the good side. Well, whatever side you think is the good side, right? I guess it's all perspective, right? Mm-hmm. But you have the Jedi side getting stronger. So you're training all these kids. So what happens? You train all these kids. They're starting to get a lot of Jedi. And one of them ends up turning on them and killing a bunch of people, right? Mm-hmm. So what am I talking about? What episode am I talking about, Blade?
Well, I guess that could be 7. It's also Anakin. Right. It's Anakin and Ben Solo.
Right. So, I mean, history just repeats itself. Mm-hmm. So I think, and it was kind of alluding to in episode 8 when Rey was like, no, there can't be this one side or the other. We just need to get rid of all this. This all just needs to go away. And he was like, no, we need to team up. And she was like, no, right.
Interesting.
So I'm hoping episode 9 is she understands that, okay, this has happened before. This is a second time. We're going to do this a third time where we're going to train Jedi, and then one of them's going to turn because there's not a balance in the Force, and then we're just back at square one.
Before I delve into my hopes and dreams for episode 9, I want to rank Star Wars 1 through 8.
Okay. Let's do it.
So you go before I start. I'm going to disclaim this one more time. I like all the Star Wars movies. I do not hate them. And just because a movie's on the bottom of my list doesn't mean I hate it. And I'm not one of those crazy Star Wars fanboys. But what is your episodes 1 through 8 rank?
If you guys care about my opinion, which you probably don't, and you shouldn't. I mean, everyone should have their own opinion. My top 3 are they're separated by if you were doing on a scale of 1 to 10, one might be a 9.88885 and another one's a 9.8884, right?
Very scientific.
So it's super there isn't a huge difference. These all could have been flip-flopped. So before we get into that, I just want to make that
interesting.
Clear.
So your top 3 are very close.
Extremely close.
Okay.
Now, that being said, I'm not like you where I don't consider my bottom 3 anywhere near the rest of them, but
I'm not saying they're really up there. But I'm just saying, I don't hate it.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. I do not have a hate for any Star Wars movie.
Fair enough. All right. So am I just doing I just do number 1? You want to do your number 1?
Or I think we just do it. Let's start from the bottom.
From the bottom up?
Yes. What is okay, I'll go first. My least favorite Star Wars movie is episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
100%. I agree.
Yeah.
Episode 2 is
and
terrible.
I struggled with this.
Wait.
Because I was going to put 8, but I mean, I don't want to hate Hayden Christensen too bad, but he was just so whiny.
And I know this is kind of going to go back on what I said before about, it does come down to like a directing, but that choice of whatever, either they thought the director thought it was good, or his lack of ability, Hayden Christensen's lack of ability to do something different,
or both. I mean, a lot of actors who have worked with George Lucas said like he doesn't actually direct them, and
he just that's good, and that's it.
Like from what I understand or what I've read, George Lucas doesn't actually direct the acting, and I think that's the biggest problem. And he lucked out with 4, 5, and 6 because you had Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher. I almost
Harrison
called him Han
Ford.
Solo. Sorry guys, it's been a long few days. You had these phenomenal actors who were able to get away with that,
Right.
But then you cast someone like Hayden Christensen, who like, even if he can act, like he probably needs a director. Even Natalie Portman, who's a good actor, like she had some pretty flat lines.
Yeah. And like you could have a flat line every now and then, but you're not going to do the line like a couple extra times. Like it seems like they did it once and they were like, good.
And how about Keira Knightley, like the entire time in episode 1, every time she was the queen, Senator Palpatine, what's happening?
Yeah. It was pretty bad. But Hayden Christensen, I mean, that he did bring that movie down. I mean, episode 2 just there's a lot to be desired with that movie, but they could have done a good job, and there should have been more to it than there was.
So episode 2, number 8. Number 7.
Episode 3, thanks to Hayden Christensen.
Really? Mine is episode 8.
So here's my reasoning behind it. I know it's huge. This is the one that you kind of get more of like Darth Vader's origin, right? And how the balance switched. I mean, it was like, it seemed like it was about to go really Jedi heavy, and it kind of just turned on its head, right? And just went back to being even. For a movie that's of that significance, it should have been amazing, in my opinion. You have a movie that is basically the reason for episode 4, 5, and 6, which are 3 of the greatest, biggest historic films. It changed, movie making and everything. And you gave me Hayden Christensen's just really badly done, whiny Darth Vader. And it's like, this is what 4, 5, and 6 is going to turn like this. It was so just disappointing. The expectations for the movie it just fell short.
I used to feel disappointed, but I like episode 3 so much more now, having watched Clone Wars.
But I shouldn't have had to watch something that you made 20 years later.
But I'm just saying, like, it really does make everything so much better. And the voice actors for Anakin and Obi-Wan, James Arnold Taylor, and I forgot who did Anakin now. But they did such a good job with the characters, and it just makes all of the character development make so much more sense. You're right. We shouldn't have had to have had that. And it's unfortunate that we do. But it's fun to keep exploring the mythology of Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem if you want to expand, but I shouldn't need to watch that to feel like it's a decent
that's fine.
movie.
But that's what moved episode 3 up on my list, and that's why episode 8 is Solo, because of a lot of its shortcomings, which it's controversial. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I mean, like, really, Rian Johnson is just not that good of a filmmaker, quite frankly. And, these twists and turns for the sake of twists and turns, like, isn't a reason
potentially
for
almost
a twist and turn.
The trilogy.
Yeah, luckily, I think this is going to be salvaged just fine. Like I said, not that I hate this movie. It's going to work out fine. But I feel like some of the choices were literally just made out of spite. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Episode 8 is just, it was good, but there were some little things. The whole Luke thing drove me crazy, especially since I'm someone who liked Luke. I understand, some of the things, like his attitude and for some of his reasonings and stuff, but the whole throwing the lightsaber, I just watched episode 7, and when she shows him the lightsaber, you see his face. There's so much emotion behind that. Like he's standing there, and it's just like this isn't just, I'm just gonna chuck this thing away. I just feel like there was way more to it until once they shot at 8, and that was just. You completely ruined a huge moment in Star Wars.
They said that like he didn't take any of JJ's ideas. You know, that was definitely apparent. And whether that should have happened or not, I mean, probably not. You know, it would have been better to get a cohesive movie. But we'll see if we get saved here in episode 9.
Yeah.
So what's your number 6?
Well, my number 6.
I know. I'm trying to.
Yeah, you do it. I was ready to go from top down, and now I'm just.
Me too. I was pinning it on you because I'm trying to go through it from my top to my bottom. I think I got it now. Oh, wait a second. 1, 2, 3. So it's 2. 2 is number 8. 8 is number 7. I'm gonna count. I'm admitting that I'm counting on my fingers right now. Oh yeah, no. My number 6 is number 1.
Mine is number
Episode 1, Phantom Menace.
Yes,
I love Phantom Menace. I love Liam Neeson.
I mean, like I said, Liam Neeson is probably one of my favorite Jedi.
Darth Maul. All the stuff that I mean, great movie. Despite Jar Jar Binks in a really long pod race, you know, Anakin gets found on Tatooine. Yeah, episode 1 for you too.
Wait, we're on 6. I did what I do already. 3 and 2. It's 8. 8.
8. Okay.
Sorry, I was just talking about 8, so I thought I did it.
Okay,
yeah, so 8.
8. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we just got into that.
Yeah.
So number 5 for me is
1. Is mine.
No. Okay.
For me, it's 1.
For you, it's 1. For me, it is. Wow, what is it?
7?
No. Wait, number 5.
You're okay? You haven't done 7, 4, 5, and 6.
No, my number 5 is 3.
Oh, 3. Really?
Yes.
Oh,
I
gosh.
like Revenge of the Sith that much more.
Yeah. No.
Why?
I just completely disagree. I already told you. I'm going to reiterate it. It was just poorly acted. It was poorly.
You're right. But
it was poorly done.
In spite of that, we do get Darth Vader's origins. He gets chopped up, lit on fire. Palpatine rises to power, executes Order 66, kills all the Jedi,
and it was poorly executed.
Execute Order 66.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's almost like if you had Infinity War, right? And you just did a bad job with it. Just because it's Infinity War, it doesn't mean, you know what I mean?
It's just it was just the bad writing. Like everything could have played out the exact same way with just some better writing, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still just fun. You just got to take it for what it is, and the memes just make it better.
I guess.
So number 4.
Oh, so
my number 4 is episode 7.
Mine too.
I liked it that much.
Yeah. Yeah. Episode 7. And I know we're not going to really get into this, but for the record, I think I would have Rogue One maybe over this or tied with this one.
Okay. I mean, Rogue One was really good.
It was really good. But I know it's not part of it. Kind of is, but not really. It's not part of the Skywalker saga.
Yes, just the Skywalker saga.
But yes, 7 was just a solid film, and
like we said, we saw it twice in the same night because it was that much fun.
Yeah, it was good, and it was different, and they just did a very good job with it. 8, and for the record, 8's where it's at, and if 9 is really good, 8's probably going to be right behind 7, and it's going to jump over. For me, it's going to jump over 1.
It's not going to jump over 1 for me. Like I would be really surprised if 8 goes any higher on my list. Only because like I said, like I like all of the Star Wars.
You don't think it'll jump over number 3?
No, I really like number 3. I've watched number 3 like many times.
Episode 3, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3 is going to be episode 4.
For me too. I mean, it is the first and it's the original, but I mean, obviously, you know, there's only 2 left. Empire and Return of the Jedi are just better movies. You know,
yeah.
4 started over.
4 is also, it's just a little campy. It's a little like, I don't know. I don't want to say corny because it's like so original, but I don't know. it just wasn't as good as 5 and 6.
5 and 6, yeah. 5 and 6, obviously, is where it's at. Those obviously going to be our top 2. So this is it. Our top 2 is going to reveal our top 1. What are your top 2?
So number 2 is episode 6.
Okay, all right.
And number 1 is episode 5.
For me, it is the opposite. I like Return of the Jedi the most, and Empire is my second. And I would generally regarded Empire as the best movie. And you know what? I mean, watching it even more as an adult, like I do appreciate Empire Strikes Back so much more. Like the writing and directing was fantastic, but we know, George Lucas obviously didn't direct, Empire Strikes Back. So like that's, there's that quality jump, right there. Although he had his hands on it, a lot. I know Return of the Jedi I think it's a bias for sure. It has a special place in my heart. Because like I didn't see Empire Strikes Back before Return of the Jedi, like we said. So like all these extra cool things, like the better effects and Jabba, Darth Vader, this helmet, Luke being tempted by the dark side and seeing Palpatine, and just I think it's just because it was a good ending. For me, it's the best.
I don't know.
And my favorite.
For me, 5, anyway. There's just so much story to it.
Yes, it's
there's
great.
So many different things that it just, for me, that's why it kind of took the cake.
It's close, but
and I'm going to be honest though, 4 and 6 to me, I was flip flopping them when I was doing them through my head. Really? I literally last second decision. I almost had 6 my third.
Okay,
and I just like 4. And the biggest reason why I'd say 4 would have a chance is just because it's like the beginning. And it's not just the beginning. It was kind of like the origin of Jedi. So, explaining to you like this is the Force and this is how it works and the symbolism and everything else was just really good.
And that's another reason why I think like if you're ever introducing somebody who's never seen Star Wars for whatever reason, even if everyone knows the big Darth Vader is Luke's father twist, the first time you watch Star Wars, you have to watch 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, then 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
After that, fine. You can do 1 through 9. Like I'm doing it right now. I'm watching a Star Wars movie every day up until the release of episode 9.
Yeah. You definitely, especially I think,
again, like as kids, like even like when you're introducing kids to it, like you got to watch 4, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. And especially just, I mean, just as me, 4, 5, and 6 are just better, just movies in general. Like even if you're not super into the whole, Star Wars, lineage, just they're better done, better well acted. Honestly, the graphics are probably a little better too.
Well, and I think it also helps make the prequel trilogies more interesting because you see like, oh, so that's how that happened. Oh, so that's where that came from.
Right.
So it adds to those movies and helps make up for its obvious shortcomings.
Right. And if you probably watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you would see, it would just, to you, you would just be like, oh, wait, this already happened. Oh, wait, this already happened. Like the whole training the Jedi where it's kind of like you don't really understand how Darth Vader became Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back and you're like, oh, wow. So that whole massacre happened. And then you go to 7 and 9. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just a little different when you do it that way.
No, I totally know what you're saying. So before we wrap up, this is coming out on Tuesday. Rise of Skywalker hits theaters in just 2 days. This is it. Like this is number 9. We're here. What are just a couple of your hopes and dreams? Really, like what will you find just so immensely satisfying in this as not only the last movie in this trilogy, but the last movie in the Skywalker saga?
So I think I already touched on it a little bit when I was talking about, what I think is going to happen kind of is just Rey to disperse everything. Like there is no more like
Jedi and
Sith. It's just, we're just going to have the Force. Like it's just going to be there, our thing. And that's it.
Okay.
So I think that's really the biggest thing. As far as with Kylo, I honestly do not care.
Do you want to see him redeemed or do you want him to stay a bad guy?
I mean, I don't want to see anybody be a bad guy. I would like to see him redeemed, but I
I don't want him redeemed. If he's redeemed, he has to die like Darth Vader, in my opinion.
Well, that's what I was. Oh yeah,
because he killed Han.
If he's redeemed, he needs to die through redemption. Like that's how he like.
Yep.
But if I don't want him to just still be a bad guy, and then like that's like he's still around and he's a bad guy. That was just then you're not. This needs to everything needs to end. In my opinion, everything needs to come to a close. There's no Kylo's still a bad guy and Rey's still like a Jedi Knight, and that's it. No, he needs to just be gone.
All right, then I have another question for you. I think I know what you're gonna say. What if Rey turns to the dark side?
If that happens, I am done with Star Wars. Wow, I'm not joking. I will be so upset if they make.
What if it's really well done?
No.
You don't think in any way Rey can turn to the dark side, Kylo turns to the good side, and that's the final fight?
No.
I don't think so either, but I just wanted to see what you would say.
Or if they have her turn to the dark side and then she dies, I will be even more upset. I will, you'll be with me. I will walk out of the theater.
I think I'll be upset too, depending on how it goes.
Because that can't, no.
Okay. Going off of what you were saying with Rey, Kylo still being a bad guy, if you put me in charge of writing episode 9, I would end it with Kylo still the bad guy, Rey's the good guy, but Kylo starts the new order of the Sith and Rey starts the new order of the Jedi, and they just agree to peace. They do not do war, but they understand that there needs to be balance. Whether you have a calling to the dark or the light. It's not a good or an evil, it's just different sides of the Force. And it's okay to have an understanding of both.
I would be okay with that as long as they decided that, like what you said, if there isn't a good and an evil, it's just the Force and there's just kind of like one side or the other. And
it's just two different philosophies.
Like, I guess, why are the Sith or whoever it is, whatever evil it was, were they perceived as bad? Like, what was the reasoning? And then
because their passion and
they're driven by like hatred a lot of times, right?
Sure, they can be.
So I guess
they can use anger.
Right. So I guess if you were to say, if you're going to use the anger, but like in a different way.
Here's the thing, like
I don't know, because that's kind of hard to. I don't know.
If you read the extra stuff, like there's people like Mace Windu, and with this helps make parts of episode 3 really cool. You know the way like Samuel Jackson is like looking at the Emperor, and it's kind of weird. Mace Windu's lightsaber style, he actually channels some of the dark side of the Force within his lightsaber style. It's a specific kind of sword fighting.
Well, you said that Qui-Gon using the ghosting is
that was a Sith technique,
and I believe from something that I did read online that when in the fight with Obi-Wan and Anakin, one of the moves that Obi-Wan uses on Anakin is actually something that the Jedi aren't supposed to do.
I thought it was cutting off their limbs or something.
Maybe, which is another thing. I know, we're kind of going back, but he didn't have to cut off his arm and both of his legs. You could have just done one, like just his arm, but why'd you go for both legs and an arm? You know what I mean?
You know what's interesting? Talk about repeating itself. I forgot to mention this. What happened at the end of episode 1? He was on the low ground, and he's the one who's able to flip over Darth Maul and cut him in half. And he sets up Anakin to do that same thing.
That's what it was. When Obi-Wan kills
Darth Maul,
he used some type of
because of the Force jump or something.
It has to do with the technique that he used when he did something and then he cut him in half.
Gotcha.
For whatever reason, like that specific technique was like.
I think I remember reading something like that. We have to do more research on that.
But it just popped up in my head as we were talking about it. I think that if there are things that Jedis are using for the Sith, then maybe there needs to be some type of, coming together instead of just one side or the other, because clearly for the Jedi to stay in the world or to, keep, going on, I guess, they've used some of those techniques. So you can't say that there has to be the balance. There needs to be both.
Yeah. All right. So what do you think about Palpatine? Why is Palpatine around? Do you think, I mean, obviously there's only two options on the table, right? Are they taking from the old novels and Palpatine made different clone bodies and he transferred his consciousness into a new body? Or did he just survive the fall and he's all messed up and that's why they haven't shown him in any of the trailers?
I think he survived after watching 6.
Do you think Snoke was an attempted clone?
I think so.
I think so,
and
too.
The reasoning is because if you tried to clone him after he had died, he probably would look like him all messed up, right? Am I wrong?
No, why? Because
I don't know.
You should clone him. It should be starting from scratch. You're not cloning injuries.
I guess, yeah.
You know? Maybe they tried to alter him and he's like, no, I want to be, maybe it's what you said, like, oh, I don't want to be Yoda. I want to be a giant guy. So they tried to make like a giant Palpatine, but it didn't work.
This is possible.
You know, I mean, maybe that's too crazy. Maybe it's too crazy.
Although a lot of the, you had Vader and Vader was all like messed up before he turned evil kind of, right? And then you have Snoke and then he's...
Well, that's something that's really interesting. It's something you see happen to a lot of the Sith, like because of the evil things they're doing and their use of the dark side, like they end up getting deformed. Like Dooku's really the only exception, but like things happen.
Doesn't he have a fake hand or something? Doesn't he have a metal arm?
Dooku?
Yeah, am I wrong? No?
He's talking like Anakin cuts off his hands right before he dies. Is his head cut off? No, Dooku hates droids and he hates cybernetics. He would have a huge problem with that. Oh, Dooku's the only one who doesn't get deformed. But he used to be a Jedi. And he also didn't have Sith eyes. But I think this is a longer conversation for another time. But look at Darth Maul. He got chopped in half, and then he got spider legs, and he got his robot legs.
But he was evil before that. Well, I guess.
But I'm just saying, like, yes, but like eventually that happened to him. Like at Palpatine, eventually his face melted. You know?
Right.
Look at... Maybe Grievous is not a good example because he's not a Sith, but look at Darth Vader. He got his arms cut off, then he got his other arm and his legs cut off, then he got set on fire. You know, like the using the dark side, like, you know, these things happen to you and your eyes turn red and yellow, you know, like there's things that happen to you physically, or at least there is evidence of that trend.
Right. But where's the trend for the Jedi, though? There's nothing.
Well,
right?
because they're not doing something, you know, that's, you know, evil, you know, quote.
So I guess, so then are you saying it is evil?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just pointing out that it's interesting.
Okay. But like I said, I don't know. It's hard to, because I get the balance thing, right? The like the good and evil, and what kind of seems to be the trend. Like there kind of needs to be the same amount of like bad guys and good guy power wise, you know, force wise. But I don't really like that you're gonna say that evil should be out there. You know what I mean? I
see what you're saying, and I
don't agree with it at all.
But I see, this is the best part about Star Wars is the philosophy of the Force, the philosophy of these nonpartisan, like politic kind of things. And like, it's fun to talk about and debate and like, and it's fictional, you know, so like, it's okay.
Right.
You know,
right. It's not like a serious conversation.
It's a made up thing. And that's why this is fun to me. So last question, the big question.
Did I answer the Palpatine one?
Yeah. You said it was just, he's survived the fall.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Who is Rey's parents? Are Rey's parents actually somebody, and who are they?
100% yes.
Okay.
And man, I hope I was gonna say Han. I was gonna say like Han and Leia.
Okay.
But I feel like you can't do the brother sister thing again.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think
and
they were twins.
I don't want to see. I just don't want the same thing again. And I kind of want it to be Luke's.
Okay. I trust me, like I hope it's Luke, but like I'm convinced that Rey is Kylo's sister and Leia had some kind of vision and decided to hide her.
I agree. And the biggest thing is, for me, I think, is their connection.
Mm-hmm.
That like they keep having those things together where they see each other. There has to be some type of relationship.
Well, people keep quote, shipping them. And I'm like, guys, you got to stop. They're going to be brother and sister. And all of you people are making this weird.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't see that. I hope not.
At the very least, they're cousins, if she's Luke's kid, like you guys got to stop. Like, you don't know.
Like when she originally came out, and I know that there's zero chance of it happening. I wanted her to be Qui-Gon's kid somehow so bad.
That would be really cool.
It would be so
have
cool.
To be granddaughter at that point,
which is possible, but I know they're not going to do it because it's not really that relevant. And
Obi-Wan, you don't know what he did in the desert while he was looking over Luke, and we heard Obi-Wan's voice call to her when she grabbed Luke's lightsaber. Although here's the thing, how is it the Skywalker saga if she's the main character? Unless they're redeeming Kylo.
Kylo's a Skywalker. Yeah.
Because then you're redeeming him.
So is Palpatine.
Is she Palpatine's kid?
I hope not. That'd be really annoying.
I think it just depends on how they explain it. I don't know. I might be okay with it just because Palpatine started the Skywalker line.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you want them to tell you flat out, or do you want them to leave it open to debate a little bit for what her origin is?
No, I want
it needs to be flat out.
I need to know who her parents are. I do not, no questions. Everything needs to be wrapped up right now.
Okay.
I will be mad if they do not.
I just, honestly, you can't, for me, the film really can't be ruined. As long as Rey remains good, I'll be fine.
No, she has to be a Skywalker. It's the Skywalker saga.
I know. I'm saying she has to be, but she can't turn to. There's no. She's a Sith now, and none of that. I don't want any of that. She needs to stay good, though, and that's it.
Okay, I want to do one more theory on why Leia's her mother.
Okay.
We all know Carrie Fisher unfortunately passed away before they filmed Episode 9.
Yes.
How did they put her back in? They used unused footage from Episode 7. So if it was unused footage from Episode 7 and they were able to still put her in there, what does that mean?
That when she saw her...
Rey, you're my daughter.
Yeah. Or she saw her, she broke down and was like, oh my gosh, my baby girl or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But they decided not to go that route. So I'm just calling it right now.
But the reason... I could see that.
Okay.
So why wouldn't Han have known?
Because she hid him from Han too. But I think that's why they had a connection without even knowing it. Because he kind of liked her. But Chewie also really liked her. I think Chewie might have known, but Leia totally would have hid that from Han.
Right.
Especially if she had a Force vision or something like Ben might turn to the dark side. Like, I need to hide Rey because otherwise she's going to get killed by Ben in the big meltdown too. And she's the one who's going to fix all this and restore balance to the Force once again. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe this is all just completely wrong. Maybe this movie's going to be terrible. We're never going to talk about Star Wars again. I mean, who knows?
That's true. We'll see. Okay. If this movie bombs,
I'm going to be so upset.
Would you watch anything else?
I don't know. I'm honestly, I do honestly have this internal struggle. Like, I'm afraid I'm going to hate this and it's going to ruin Star Wars for me. And I hate saying that because I hate all the negative stuff I see people saying and hear, and I read it online. And I don't understand how people can be so negative toward it, especially since this isn't adapting a comic book. Not oh, you ruined the source material. There is no source material. This is just canon. This is canon. Whatever happens is canon. You have to accept it.
Right.
It's just whether it's satisfying or not.
Right.
I mean, to me, I think it just has to bring the Skywalker saga to a close.
Yeah, no loose ends, just end everything.
Yep.
That's going to be very difficult. I'm not, because there's going to be certain things I can see it now. There's going to be something that they're oh, people are upset because we forgot about this little thing, and then they're probably gonna have to put it in a deleted scene.
The only things they have to touch on for me is what was the deal with Snoke? Why Palpatine's back? Good final fight. Do not let Ben Solo turn to the good side without dying. Do not let Rey turn to the dark side, and have Rey be a Skywalker, and I will be good. I don't even care what else happens.
Yeah.
I think, gosh, that was a long episode, and I think that's why
There's a lot to talk about.
There was a lot to talk about, and that's why this was a Star Wars special. So we hope you all enjoy not only this week's episode of Nightcap Chat, but we also hope you all enjoy this week's release of episode 9. We will not be talking about episode 9 next week. Next week, we're bringing you our Christmas special before we take a little break and return to you in the 2020 year, and then we'll be talking about Rise of the Skywalker.
Yes.
It would have to be really bad for us not to do a Rise of the Skywalker episode. Even then, maybe we'll do an episode where we complain about
so
it.
you guys will have plenty of time to go out and see it. So no excuses when in a couple weeks from now we decide to do the movie and there's spoilers everywhere.
Yeah, I think 3 weeks we'll do 3 weeks from the release of this episode, we'll be doing.
That's plenty of time. They're going to be at a $1.5 billion in the box office by the time you guys will hear what we have to say about it.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to listen. Don't forget to continue to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about us. And what really helps us a lot is leaving those reviews, especially on platforms like iTunes, leaving reviews, especially good reviews, gets us put, in suggestions that are done by Apple and Google, because we are on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, and wherever these podcasts are given away for free. But thank you all for listening, and we will catch you all next week.
May the Force be with you.